Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet, read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called So What? Everyone's Got Super Soldiers, written by Fox Corp.
Sir, I don't think you understand. We need to leave, now!
Milo lashed a tentacle towards the lumbering brute he called a bodyguard. Back off, Jordan. Humans are like a smaller, weaker and significantly less airy version of you. If you can't handle just one of them, I might as well fire you on the spot. In the 10 cycles Jordan had worked for Milo, the lumbering 9-foot hairy mass had never shown even an ounce of fear. As Milo observed Jordan in that moment, that all changed. The hulking figure was visibly shaking. He wasn't just in fear, he was petrified.
You don't get it, boss. They're not like other super soldiers. They're glorified fast lanes to hell. If this really is a human name taker after you.
Jordan paused for a moment to look at the vital sign monitor hooked up to the rest of Milo's security detail.
And based off of this, that I'd say that it is.
Their fearless hardcore warlord bent down to Milo's level, placed a meaty paw on the gelatinous glob that was Milo's species' approximation of a shoulder, and locked eyes as he concluded,
"We need to get the feck out of here as fast as possible."
Milo took a glance at the security feeds. He observed a lone figure clad in elegant suit and tie, picked up an ATM with one hand, only to swiftly smash it down onto a horrified hired gun a half-second later. Milo went translucent in fear as the human took notice of the camera, smiled, and swirled the pistol around in his finger and blasted it. As the screen went to static, followed by another screen, and then another. Milo turned to Jordan and let out a pitiful squeak. "Oh, get me to the shuttle, now!" Jordan nodded and grabbed his battle mace.
"Follow me, sir."
As Jordan opened up the door from Milo's office and into the compound at large, an explosion could be heard from somewhere in the building. A nearby guard flinched at the noise, prompting Jordan to scowl at him and grab the guard's pistol.
"You fight the humans, coward."
The guard stammered in protest. But my pistol, how can I fight without? Jordan brandished his newfound firearm and roared,
"Would you rather I kill you now or take chances with the human?"
The guard cowered, apologized, and darted off in the direction of the rampaging human. With that out of the way, Jordan and Milo began moving as fast as they could towards the shuttle pad. Every time either one of them began to get exhausted, they would hear a gunshot, explosion, or scream coming from behind them that would hasten their step. Terrifyingly, the noises only seemed to grow ever closer as the trek tracked on. Eventually, the duo reached a massive atrium, stretching 20 floors high, balconies lined with armed guards on every floor. Jordan escorted Milo into the glass elevator at the end of the room and slammed the door shut on several other guards trying to hoof it out of there alongside them. Milo turned to Jordan nervously. Do you think that the glass is bulletproof?" Jordan turned and said,
"I sure hope it is, boss."
Before Milo could let out any more awkward and horrified elevator speak, gunfire erupted in the atrium below. The human had breached the room and was clearly visible through the wondrous views of the now shockingly exposed glass elevator. Milo and Jordan watched in horror as the human lunged at the guard, delivering a single punch that caved in his skull, and stole the corpse's rifle, only to aim it at the glass undercarriage of the elevator they both resided in. Milo let out a blood-curdling scream as the rifle let out a continuous stream of whips, followed by a deliverance of massive cracks in the elevator's once pristine glass visage. By the end of the rifle's supply of bullets, the elevator was so dinged up that the glass could no longer be considered transparent. While Jordan and Milo went effectively blind, their ears continued to function. Second by horrifying second, the gunfire got quieter and quieter, eventually replaced entirely only by the sound of Milo's security letting out shouts of unadulterated terror. As the elevator finally reached the 20th floor with a half-hearted ding, the gunfire and shouts had entirely stopped. But a strange thud could be heard from the atrium below in a periodic fashion. Jordan decided to state the obvious.
"The human approaches. We must go."
The pair were faced with a long hallway before them. At the end of it lay a set of doors that led to a shuttle pad of Milo's building. If they could make it there, they could live to die another day. Knowing this, the two set out at the highest speeds their bodies could manage towards their light at the end of the tunnel. Before the two could make it even halfway down the hallway, they heard a gargantuan crash. Milo looked behind him to see what was going on, only to see the hand of the human name-taker protruding from the elevator glass. In another second, another crash was heard, and the human busted through the glass entirely.
Go on, boss. Time for me to earn my pay.
Jordan clearly meant for his last words to come out as noble and honorable, but between the stuttering and the violent shaking his body was subject to, they didn't quite come out that way. The massive Hokthor, tired muscle, did his best to plant his feet in preparation to clash with the human, but it wasn't enough. When the human reached him, Jordan attempted to slam his mace down upon the name-taker, but the human simply caught the hammer and said, "You know, I expected a lot more from someone who looks so much like a Sasquatch," and swiftly put a bullet through the warlord's brain with the stolen pistol that had just a second ago resided on Jordan's hip. Milo was beyond terrified to witness this happen, but he was so close to the doors that he hadn't fully yet given up hope. That was, until the human caught up to him almost immediately, did a flip above him and landed in front of him. After all that, Milo gave up hope and began stammering, "Please, I'll give you anything that you want. Money, drugs, anything." The human simply put a finger on his lips to shush the kingpin and pulled a holographic list from his wristwatch. "Let's see here. Mr. Milo Golesh, you are charged with slavery, sapient trafficking, conspiracy to commit murder, theft, fraud, and what's this?" The human let out a slight chuckle. "See, your name probably wouldn't have come up on my roster for a year or two if it wasn't for this. Tax fraud." The human pulled out 2 grenades from his vest pocket. "Now, normally for members of your species, I give them a choice. They can either die to an incendiary or fragmentation grenade. I trust that you understand that I can't simply shoot you because of your gelatinous nature." The man stopped to toss the grenades in his hand. "But I've got my own policy for slave scum like you. You all get the incendiary." With that, the human pulled the pin on the grenade and took a few steps back. "For what it's worth, I really hope it hurts." Milo went out screaming in agony while the human strolled out the doors to the shuttle pad. As he reached the doors to the shuttle, the man pulled out his holographic visage of his personal AI assistant, Joe. "I'm not getting too soft on these guys, am I?" Without missing a beat, Joe replied, "No, Bob. You're just as ruthless as ever. In fact, I must say that the average sapient may even sympathize with the slavers." Joe let out a synthetic chuckle. "Who am I kidding? Nobody gives a crap about those guys. If anything, they go out far too easy." Bob shook his head and sighed. "Well, I guess it's a good thing that the slavers removed my emotional capabilities back in the day. For some reason, I doubt the average human would find this line of work very, stomachable." As Bob powered up the shuttle, Joe laughed again. "Truthfully, Bob, I think those slaver bastards did themselves a favor. Just imagine how dangerous you human super soldiers would be if you could feel anger. Hell, the thought of that scares me, and I'm not even capable of really dying." Bob was deep in thought for a moment as he began to take off. "Maybe you're right. In any case, how's my schedule looking for the rest of the week?"
"Well, looks like the agency's got you scheduled to kill a dictator tomorrow. And after that, you've got a day or 2 off for some good old R&R. Bob eased the seat back as he glanced out the view screen to Milo's compound engulfed in flames. "Sounds good to me, Joe. Make sure to get me lodgings with a shower and a damn good dry cleaning. I've got a tad more Bigfoot blood on me than I'd like at the moment." End of story. I would just quickly like to thank the T5 peeps: Dragon Soup, Cold War Boomerwaffen, Severin Cerberus, Red Panda 121, Leslie 517, Bushmaster 177, Caspar Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Sans the Skeleton, Lightjock, Dragzoon WRE, and Lord Azrakal. Thank you very much.